friends, it's Miss Cindy from the Mahopac Public Library. We've been preparing for summer, which is just about here, and one of the first things we'll have for you is a kickoff party, or kickoff event. It's not really a party. Can't have parties these days. Kickoff event, which will be in the adult garden beginning on June 19th. That's a Friday, so beginning at 10 a.m. And we will be having craft supplies for you throughout the summer. This particular one is a craft for teens, and what it involves is, well, let me tell you the theme. The summer reading theme this year is Imagine Your Story. So we happen to have several of these blank books that some very generous person donated to our library. And they're nice hardback books, and you can use them for a variety of things. For instance, the person on the cover of this book, who was Beatrix Potter, and that name may sound familiar to you, she was an author and illustrator, and she probably carried a book like this with her all the time. She was known for her illustrations and stories in The Tale of Peter Rabbit. And she did a lot of her studies of animals right in her garden. And so there you can see some pictures of little Peter Rabbit there crawling under the fence. So she used her journal as a sketchbook. So that's one way you could use this type of a blank book. Another way you could use it, you may get a book with this author on it, and this is Agatha Christie, who is very well known worldwide for her great mystery stories. So she probably used a blank book like this to write down ideas. Maybe she was riding on the train and she got this great idea about a murder mystery taking place on a train. Many of her stories have been made into movies. So this is Agatha Christie. And you could use your journal the way she did to keep ideas down, write down ideas. So those are two ways you could use a journal like this. Another way to use it would be as a to make a first-person primary source. You probably have learned about primary sources in school, like in social studies most especially. And if you've ever read these books, these I Survived books by Lauren Tarshish, she uses primary sources to write her stories about, this one is about Hurricane Katrina. Who knows, maybe someday an author may be looking for primary sources about I survived the pandemic of 2020, and you may want to use your blank book to keep ideas, keep a record of what's been going on in your life since March. Maybe how all the changes started, you were hearing about it on the news and your friends were talking about it at school, and before you know it, the schools were closed, and at first maybe you were happy about that until you realized you still had to do all this online learning and you couldn't see your friends and maybe it wasn't so great. So that's another great way of using a blank book like that. So while Agatha Christie and Beatrix Potter were really remarkable women, you may want to keep the covers just like this. I wanted to tell you a few ways that you can alter the book covers and make it more personal. So let me tell you about that. So one way, the first way is really the simplest way. You could take some rather large and sturdy paper. These are wallpaper samples, and we'll have these available for you in the garden if this is the method you decide to use. And you actually make a cover that you would wrap around the book. One great thing about this is that it's removable, so if it gets dirty or you change your mind and you want a different color, a different piece of paper, you can take it off and put on a new cover. So it's very simple, and all you need for this, you pick up a piece of paper like this when you come to the garden beginning June 19th and until supplies last. And then you take your journal and you want to turn your paper so the facing side is down. And you're going to fold the paper, and you may want to measure, right where the book is to see exactly where you're going to make your fold. So make a little test fold, and then go ahead and fold it all the way down. Make that crease nice and smooth. Do the same thing on the bottom. Fold it down. And then you want to sort of fold it in half. And you're going to insert the book right inside there. And this will give you guidelines for where to fold the covers to make the cover fit the book. So go ahead and fold that down, and again, crease it a little bit. And then you can close the book there and trap that flap right in there. And then go ahead and do the other side. So we'll fold it in, and now you have your book cover is pretty much to the right size, but you want to make it secure. So when you open it up again, you're going to slide the cover of the book right inside the spaces that are there, and do the same thing on the back. Slide the cover right inside that space that you made, and when you close it, there you have your book covered. You may even want to alter this a little bit by drawing on it or gluing, collaging on any other things that you may have at home. And to make it really secure, what you may want to do is either get a piece of double stick tape, or just if you have a simple piece of Scotch tape and you want to put it where the little insert begins and just fold it over just to keep that secure. And you want to do that 4 times. So do that here and here and here and here. And that will make your book cover nice and secure. So that's the first way. Now there's actually sort of an alternate that's very, very similar. If you're handy and you like to sew, we do have some of these pieces of fabric that are just about the right size for doing the exact same thing. And you would really do it the same way. You would measure your book, and instead of just folding it and pressing it with your hands, you're going to want to use an iron. So check with your mom and dad. If you haven't used an iron before, they may want to be there watching. Make sure you don't burn yourself, because you do need, these are cotton, you need a nice, pretty good temperature for that. So rather than just pressing it with your hand, use an iron, and you fold it the exact same way. You may need to fold these flaps down there, and the book will go inside. And I have one sample for you here that's just about finished, because rather than using tape here to hold these flaps secure, you will need to take a few stitches. So if you're handy with a needle and thread, you do want to bring the needle and thread up through the corner, and then you just want to stitch those 2 parts of that flap closed. So you want to stitch right from the corner all the way to the end there where that flap ends. So you want to do that on all 4 flaps again. 1 here, here, and you do it, I already did these 2 here, so that your cover is nice and secure. So you can make a paper cover or a cloth cover. That's the first way you could go about covering your journal and personalizing it. So I have 2 other ways that you can do it, and I want to explain how to do those. But they involve a few more steps. And the first thing you would need to do is, would actually be, here's what they look like. This is one. I'll explain this one first. I've collaged on some tissue paper here and put on some glitter. This one is just a basic collage with larger pieces of mostly paper really on there. So the first thing you would need to do these types of techniques is a piece of sandpaper, which we will include when you come to pick up your materials at the garden. These will be there. And as you can see, this cover is very shiny, and we're going to paint it. So paint doesn't really adhere very well. We'll probably use acrylic paint. That is one thing you will have to pick up yourselves. We won't be supplying the paint for you. But you want to use your sandpaper right on the cover there, and you can see how the shiny part of the cover has disappeared, and now it's kind of looking scratched and foggy, and even you can feel a little bit of the dust there from sanding it. So after you've used sand your entire cover, front and back, go ahead and scratch it up real well, and then dust off any of that dust from sanding. The next thing you want to do is paint it, and you can pick up any color of acrylic paint that you like. I started with this nice dark purple color of acrylic paint, and you want to give it the whole book, front and back, a nice coat. If you're not sure what color you want to work on, go ahead and start with white. That's a great way to start. So after you've sanded and painted and let the paint dry, your next step is begin collaging some tissue paper. And we will have available when you come to the adult garden lots of different colors of tissue paper. Let me just show you what we have here. Some of the these ideas, gives you an idea. There's the purples that I use. There's also this sort of charcoal color. There's black and white and gray and pink. So you can feel free to take 3 or 4 sheets of paper like this. What I did on this book, the back I did all one solid color, so I just picked one of these dark purples. And the front, I used several different shades. So you'd be able to come and choose 3 or 4 different shades of tissue paper. And the next thing you want to do is tear it up into small pieces. And we're actually going to collage this onto your book. So let's start on the one that I started. I already sanded part of it and painted part of it, and I'll just demonstrate a small section of how you collage this on. I used for this just a regular white glue, like an Elmer's glue or whatever you happen to have at home, but it is a little bit thick, and you want to use a paintbrush. And so I thinned out the glue a little bit with water so that it's just a little bit easier to paint onto my book. So you just go ahead and paint some of the watered down glue right where you're going to begin, right where you've painted. And go ahead and lay your pieces of tissue paper right on there, and you want to overlap them. What I love about this technique is that when you're adding these, even though this is the same color over and over again, when you layer it, you'll get darker shades and lighter shades, and it really makes an interesting surface. So go ahead and keep gluing until everything's covered. And again, if you want to jazz it up a little bit and use a variety of colors, that's a nice way to go. And that is how I did the front cover of this book. When you feel like you've got it all covered, you do want to make sure some of these drier pieces of tissue paper are all laid down nice and tight. And even at the very edges, you may want to put a little glue there and wrap it around and make sure everything is collaged on there. And so this way your cover will be nice and smooth, and you won't have pieces of paper curling up and coming off. So now you have this wet glue and everything, and it can get a little bit sticky, and I do recommend whatever surface you're working on, cover that with a piece of newspaper or a piece of wax paper. So let that dry, and when it's all dry, it will look something like this. Now, I do have to confess that this, if you can probably tell there, is a little bit shiny, and the glue actually would not give you a shiny finish. So another product you could use, which is available at most craft stores, is this Mod Podge, and it comes in various finishes. So this one is a gloss, and what I did is after I finished gluing everything with the regular white glue, I did put a thin layer of the Mod Podge right on top of my collage tissue paper. And after that first thin layer, I decided I wanted to add a little of this, a little sparkle, needed a little sparkle. So I added some of this multicolored glitter. And that's another material you will be able to pick up here at the library if you come and pick up a journal. So I just got a quick layer of that Mod Podge, a little sprinkle of glitter, let that dry, and then do another layer of Mod Podge over that to protect your glitter, make sure it's staying on there. Because I don't know about you, but I don't like it when I have something covered with glitter and the glitter is coming off all over the place. So a quick layer of Mod Podge will give it a shine if you like the gloss, and it will protect your glitter from coming off. So that's the second method of personalizing your book cover. The third one is very similar to that, except, so you will need to sand your book and paint your book. As you can see, I painted this a pale blue, a sky blue, and you can kind of tell that I only gave it one coat. It probably could have used a second coat, so if you really don't want that cover showing through, give it 2 coats. And then use a variety of materials just in a pleasing way. Try them out before you glue them on. I used some scrapbooking paper. I used some more wallpaper samples. This is a piece of wrapping paper that I had, a piece of music paper, and a map. I did cut out some words from a magazine. I'm sure you have magazines and catalogs at home that you can look through and pull out some phrases or words that you may like. But of course, we will be supplying you with a good assortment of materials when you come. So I do have some different color tissue paper, some maps. Here's several different maps. There's some music paper. There's some different scraps of, again, wallpaper. So you will begin with a supply of papers that we have for you here. And you can look through and decide maybe you want to choose some more. There will be a selection of additional materials you can choose from when you come to pick up your book. And just go ahead and glue them on there. And you can use, again, either the glue. I did just use the white glue for this project. Or if you like the shiny and you want to go and pick up Mod Podge from the craft store and you want to cover that over, you can use that as a glue as well. So that's the third way you have of decorating your journal and personalizing it. So again, some ways you may want to use this book as a sketchbook, as a personal journal, as a pandemic journal, or finally as a bullet journal, which have become very popular these days. And that's a way of keeping track of goals for the day, for the week, for the month. You can keep track of them in your blank journal. Maybe it's a summer journal, or maybe you're a senior going off to college and you have all these goals and things that you want to do. So that's another great way to use it. We have more than 50 of these blank books here at the library, and we're really excited to give them away to you and excited to see what you're going to do with them. So please come to the library beginning on June 19th. These will be available with lots of materials in the adult garden beginning at 10 a.m. And all the following week beginning at 10 a.m., probably till around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So you can pick up a journal, pick up materials. If you have any questions about how to do it, feel free to ask. Hopefully I will be there some of those hours. You can come and ask me or any of the other library personnel that are there. And you can always rewatch this video if you have any questions on how to decorate your journal. So have a great time. Looking forward to seeing you in this exciting start of the summer. Thanks for watching. Bye.